a story by one of my favorite authors, Beatrix Potter. So I have a little story about when I was studying at New York University. They actually had a little play with this author. I think it was The Tale of Peter Rabbit. So they set up a live play, and we went to watch. All the students went to watch. So I was an education and psychology student. And so my professor told me to go. And here, this is a little book that I found at a dollar store or thrift store, I don't remember. And it's 1995, so there's a couple of them, there's 4 more. And she's one of my favorite authors, and she illustrates and wrote the book. It's a beautiful little story, The Tale of Squirrel Nutkin. So this is the book that we're going to read today. And it's 1995, manufactured in the United States. Okay, they're a little late. So it's a small publisher. The Tale of Squirrel Nutkin, retold from the original Beatrix Potter story. So we have a lot of squirrels running around our neighborhood looking for nuts all the time. This is a tale about a tale that belonged to a little red squirrel named Nutkin. He lived with his brother Twinkleberry and a great many cousins in a wood at the edge of a lake. In the middle of the lake, on an island covered with nut bushes, stood a hollow oak tree, the house of Old Brown the Owl. So there's Old Brown the Owl. Yeah, it's a cute, cute picture. One autumn, the squirrels made little rafts out of twigs. Each squirrel spread out his tail for a sail as they paddled to Owl Island to gather nuts. Twinkleberry and the other squirrels took an offering of 3 fat mice as a present for Old Brown. They bowed politely. "Old Mr. Brown, will you please give us permission to gather nuts on your island?" But Nutkin, who didn't have nice manners, bobbed and sang, riddle me, rot-ta-tote. A little wee man in a red, red coat, a staff in his hand and a stone in his throat. If you'll tell me this riddle, I'll give you a goat." Mr. Brown paid no attention to Nutkin. He shut his eyes and went to sleep. The squirrels filled their sacks with nuts and sailed home. Next morning, Twinkleberry and the others followed with a fine fat mole for Old Brown. "May we please gather more nuts?" they asked. But Nutkin just danced and tickled old Mr. Brown, who shut the door in Nutkin's face. Nutkin sang through the keyhole, "A house full, a hole full, and you can't gather a bowlful," while the others filled their sacks with nuts. Nutkin played marbles. The third day, Twinkleberry and 6 little squirrels each carried a fat minnow for Old Brown, but not Nutkin. He riddled a song. "The man in the wilderness said to me, 'How many strawberries grow in the sea?' I answered him as I thought good, 'As many red herrings as grow in the wood.'" On the 4th day, the squirrels brought Old Brown 6 fat beetles, but Nutkin sang as rudely as ever, "Put in a bag tied round with a string. If you'll tell me this riddle, I'll give you a ring." Which was ridiculous, for Nutkin had no ring for Old Brown. On the 5th day, the squirrels brought wild honey so sweet they licked their fingers when they gave it to Old Brown. Then they filled their sacks with nuts. But Nutkin sang a riddle. Then he bowled with a crab apple and pine cone. On the last day, the squirrels brought a newly laid egg as a farewell gift for Old Brown. Nutkin was worse than ever with dancing and riddles. He made a whirling noise, then took a running jump right onto the head of Old Brown. All at once there was a flutter, a scuffle, and a loud squeak. When the other squirrels peeked around the corner, there was Old Brown, eyes closed as if nothing had happened, but Nutkin was in his coat pocket. This looks like the end of the story, but it isn't. Old Brown carried Nutkin to his house, held him by the tail, intending to skin him. But Nutkin pulled so hard his tail broke in two. He ran upstairs and escaped out of the window. To this day, if you meet Nutkin and ask him a riddle, he will throw sticks at you and shout, "Cuck, cuck, cuck, cuck." The end. Okay, that's a nice little read aloud. And there's a couple more.